All right, I think we are ready to go and get this session started. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Hope those who celebrate St. Patrick's Day aren't suffering any ramifications from those celebrations. Today, we are going to be talking about processing video evidence with Omnivore and QuickView LT. I am joined, of course, today by Charles Garino, our Vice President of Sales. I'm Larry Compton, Senior Instructor and Technology Evangelist here at Ocean Systems. And throughout the webinar, Charles is going to be helping me. Including with the questions and answers, of course. So if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, grab that questions panel in the webinar control panel, pop that open and expand it, and you can submit your questions throughout the webinar. So we can address those. Charles will try to address some through the webinar, and we'll certainly try to make some time at the end of the webinar to grab those as well. So the topic today, processing video evidence with Omnivore and QuickView LT. And if we're going to talk about processing video evidence, we absolutely have to talk about developing workflows. And you know, the common key things out there: integrity verification, authentication, non-destructive processing, all of those types of things have to be considered, of course. So, you know, we've built solutions to try and accommodate and help you with those challenges, of course. But no two cases are alike. A lot of folks in this industry are just get the video, get a frame, you know, the best image out of that video, so on and so forth. But all of those scenarios should have, you know, well-documented, developed workflows and standard SOPs for recovery, processing, etc. When working with multimedia evidence, especially when we have multiple sources, you know, we have to do the planning ahead. First off, you know, what created it? What device? What are its capabilities? You know, tracing back the integrity of that evidence. But also, what questions are being asked of this evidence, and how does that affect how I might develop my workflow to address those questions? Because our job as technicians and analysts is to present accurate information to the court for them to have that accurate information. And as you know, if you've been in multimedia evidence for any length of time, that can be extremely challenging sometimes, even with a single file. But when we have multiple sources, we have to understand what created them, what are its capabilities, what are the pixel dimensions, frame rates, all of these types of things, depending on the questions being asked. If the question is, hey, did a bus pass through here? Well, listen, we don't have to delve into that level of detail. But what we do need to understand is that to address our questions, we have to be able to speak to, you know, our workflow and how that workflow supports our hypothesis and those questions. When it comes to digital CCTV video evidence, this has been, you know, the big challenge over the last several years, all the different proprietary players and those types of solutions. And while there are some third-party solutions you're probably familiar with out there for processing proprietary multimedia files, and including FFmpeg, of course, but some third-party forensic solutions. With that said, you're always going to want to use the software, at least validate, right, using the software that was created for that particular proprietary file format. And that means, yes, proprietary players have weaknesses. They have a ton of them. You know, there wasn't a lot of time often spent on developing UIs and things of that nature. However, that is the application designed to display and parse that data. And in some cases, if you're not using that application, what if you're missing entire streams? More often than not, it's mostly metadata, but you could be missing entire streams if your tool doesn't understand the container completely, for instance. So all tools have strengths and weaknesses, including proprietary players. And what I highly recommend is that you interrogate number one, of course, it starts with the recovery process. But if you weren't there, you don't have that, and you're left with a player. Interrogate that player, interrogate its capabilities. Look for compare with recovery settings if those were provided to you, etc. You need to determine what that proprietary player's capabilities are before we start developing a workflow for any detailed analysis on things like speed and height and colors and things of that nature. So you have to understand your software. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. Certainly for investigative processing, which is, we want to be as accurate as we can, as quickly as we can to get information out on the street, right? And get actionable information in return. Investigative processing, we do things based on the information we have available to us at the time, the best information, right? But we still want to be as accurate as possible. So those tools that including FFmpeg, that process proprietary files, just understand, we're definitely going to have to validate, and workflows are really critical, including what are the questions being asked of your evidence. With all of that said about talking about workflows, let's look at Omnivore and QuickView LT and how they can be leveraged to, address a great number of typical tasks that we're dealing with, both in the field and in the lab. Of course, Omnivore itself, uncompressed, documented screen capture, award-winning screen capture. That's how it made its name. Everything gets documented. Very, very convenient solution there. And then we introduced FFmpeg Convert to the Omnivore viewer. This pretty much opened up the entire FFmpeg capabilities to Omnivore users. So if you are a command line FFmpeg person, you can still do that. We've also, of course, incorporated our FFmpeg Convert interface, which has a lot of those common tasks built right in. So 3.403 is the current release. We have version 3.5 coming out very, very soon, hopefully prior to the end of this month. And I'm going to show a player from version 3.5, one of the primary updates to that. And then down the road, 3.4.0, we'll be jumping to 64-bit for the entire solution. So lots going on. But if you are on an old drive, 3.1 or older, this 3.4 03 release is going to have to repartition that drive. So make sure you back up all your data and everything from the drive prior to doing that upgrade. That upgrade's free to anyone that was in support as of May 1st. So if you don't have it, make sure you get it. Certainly handy to have that portability out in the field with you. Omnivore's FFmpeg Convert, I'm going to show firsthand. So a lot of these things that you see on screen here, pretty common. We've talked about them in the past, and certainly we have training videos and marketing videos as well. But converting files, extracting audio frames, a lot of the common tasks that we do. And many of these are mirrored in QuickDME as well. So if you have a QuickDME subscription, you have all of these and more FFmpeg tasks built right into QuickDME. So from the time of acquisition, you ingest your evidence into QuickDME, whether or not you're using QuickDME as a single individual just to manage your own piece of the pie when processing this evidence. We have some people using QuickDME that way, just on their own single machine, managing their own little world when evidence comes in. Everything's audited, documented, and very, very easy to use. That's the advantage there. Now, if you're on an older drive, Omnivore, and if, for instance, one of the USB 2s, we still have our drive upgrade program out there. So you can get a USB 3 drive and replace that old USB 2 drive. You can get back into support, etc. All of this available on our website, which I'll show at the end of the webinar. So Omnivore, the key piece for portability means, and then of course QuickDME is really that engine for doing everything from asset management to note-taking to workflows with multiple team members. So maybe you're using QuickDME in your lab and you've set up a custom field to assign cases so that people can just log in and look at that custom field and see their cases that are assigned to them for processing, etc. QuickDME is so flexible. But the big thing with QuickDME 4.1 that was introduced that last month was our new QuickView LT player. Super convenient. It is QuickView, a quick, easy way to preview any FFmpeg supported file in Windows, and it's right in your Windows context menu. So we can preview those files. We can do a lot of things like interrogating via metadata tools such as EXIF tools, media info, and FFprobe, all with a single click. Get a 3-column metadata summary report, get an MD5 and SHA-1 hash value in that report, save that report as PDF, etc. So a lot of, low-level common tasks right there, just in the metadata report alone capability of QuickView LT. You can hash it, you can get all the metadata documented, etc. Now, you're just after a single frame. Well, I'll show you how QuickView LT can help you with that, as well as reporting. And then, of course, it's integrated with FFmpeg Convert and Omnivore's FFmpeg Convert. So if you have your Omnivore drive plugged in, you can leverage all of FFmpeg Convert's capabilities. So that's what we're going to be speaking to here today, is just the tie-in between QuickView itself and FFmpeg Convert. If you're a full-blown QuickDME user, single license, whether subscription or perpetual, you'll have all of this and certainly much more, including all of the QuickDME capabilities available to you. In regards to QuickDME, we have a new 30-day demo package available for you. It takes just a few minutes to get set up. It includes the QuickDME software as well as Microsoft SQL Server Express to host that required database, your data that's in your possession. It includes a demo database and assets with some cases, etc. So it's really easy. It's one downloadable package, about a little over 1 gig in size to include everything, but it's a simple setup for Windows 7 or newer systems to download, get installed, and start poking around in QuickDME and see a lot of the capabilities I was talking about. So with that said, let's get right into the software. I'm going to look at a few files with you and just a typical workflow on some of these files. So on my desktop here, I have a folder called Original Media, which includes, some video from camcorders, cell phones, DVRs, in-car, Ring, CCTV, etc. I want to use some small files for today's webinar just for the sake of time. I'm going to start by looking at a Ring file, this sliding door original. And we can see our Windows properties, etc. I'm just going to right click, play with QuickView LT. QuickView LT is going to open, and it's important to understand this is really both a quick way to preview and play the files and process those files, but it's definitely not something you want to use to screen capture from. Why is that? Because it's going to open up, as you can see here, down in this corner, I have the pixel dimensions of how the video is being displayed right now. Below it, we have metadata from the file, including a time code, packet position, the complete duration of the file as reported, and the dimensions. You can see it is stored as a 720p 1280 by 720 file. So although I'm looking at it in the proper aspect ratio up here, I'm actually viewing it in a much smaller size. Again, it's a concept of previewing, right? Giving us quick, easy access to play. Now I can certainly maximize and everything. It's just going to stretch it out. You'll see my pixel dimensions down there change. But lots of neat stuff here right within the QuickView player itself before we even get to Omnivore that can be used to process and interrogate evidence. So let's look at that metadata report. You can see over here our typical play controls, play the video file forward. We'll have our audio, and we have a copy frame to clipboard button. Now, we're displaying this at 776 by 436. I told you it was stored as 720p. If I hit this copy frame to clipboard button, frame was copied to clipboard, and I paste over here, or for instance in Photoshop, Word has pasted this in at a given size. If I launch Photoshop and actually measure that pasted image, it is 1280 by 720. So you'll see that it's not doing a screen capture from the player. It's grabbing the actual frame at its native storage size. So if you have, for instance, a field-based resolution like 720 by 240 or 704 by 240, that is the size the image will be copied to your clipboard as. So let me do a new, and I'll do from clipboard 1280 by 720. So you can see that it's copying that original native size when we copy the frame, and I could just paste that frame in. So that's, certainly convenient if we're just after a quick way to grab a frame. Certainly we can do that right within the interface. Next to it is next to the copy frame button is our Omnivore FFmpeg convert button. So I'm going to touch on that in just a moment, but first we're going to look at this metadata viewer. So let's click the metadata viewer button, and what it's going to do is it's going to scan your file with EXIF tools, media info, and FFprobe, and then produce a summary report that you see here on my screen. The summary report includes our file metadata hashes. We've hashed it with MD5 and SHA-1, and then we show you EXIF tools, media info, and FFprobe in a nice 3-column little summary report, including the version information of those tools or build information and what it's reporting. You can get to those detailed reports by just clicking on the tabs. So you can see everything within these reports. One of the really slick things that I like is this little copy button here. If I just click the copy button on this summary report, well, I can paste this right in to my text file or Word document or what have you. So I can paste that whole report right in without an issue. I can also save it right to PDF, just clicking the Save button. Choose which content. Do I want EXIF tools, media info, and FFprobe? Do I want to include that summary page? And then obfuscating file path. So if you want to obfuscate the path to the file from those reports, you can leave that checked, and it'll obfuscate the file path. Oh my goodness. And save your file right to PDF. So I'll just call this sample report, and now I have a PDF with a page for EXIF, metadata, FFprobe, and then a summary page as displayed here. So we'll go take a quick look at that PDF. Let me just do a Windows D, and here we go. It's our PDF, and let me open it up over here on the screen that you can actually see. And you'll see we have that PDF with our summary report, hash values, and then each page as we go through EXIF tools, media info, etc. So a very handy way to get to metadata information from a file right from that QuickView player. We can copy frames, run metadata reports, including hashing, etc. Additionally, well, we can copy metadata fields right from this player, which saves a ton of time. So I can click the metadata title. So you see if I hover over it, it says copy metadata. If I click metadata title, left or right click, copy metadata to clipboard, paste. So it's going to copy those 4 fields to your clipboard. If I want individual ones, just the packet position, just left or right click on packet position and copy and paste. So packet position, of course, really good for looking up in a frame analysis report, in an XML FFmpeg frame analysis report, which we can, of course, run through Omnivore's FFmpeg convert. So let's take a look at that now. So I might look for this particular packet in that report and find that particular frame of video. All right. So a quick overview of QuickView. Let's take a look at running a frame analysis report using FFmpeg Convert. Now, if I don't have my Omnivore drive plugged in when I click this button, it's going to give you a little warning. So I'll unplug my Omnivore and I will click this and it'll come up and ask you to insert your Omnivore drive. So once I have inserted my Omnivore drive, you'll notice that my system will mount the drive. And then, of course, because I'm using QuickDME and I have it enabled, that it'll also find that drive. Here, I'm going to just click this again, and now it's going to see my Omnivore. So boom, FFmpeg Convert is open, and I can start to leverage all of the capabilities of our FFmpeg Convert interface to interrogate and process this file. So let's do a FFmpeg frame analysis report to look for a packet. Let's look for that particular packet we just documented. So I'm just going to choose Reports, Frame Information XML, and we also have Container and Streams, which is essentially what media info outputs. You'll see a section for Container and Streams. So I'm going to run those reports and put them in a temporary folder. That's fine. And I'll just click. I've got both reports checked. I'll just click OK. It's going to go ahead, parse all of that data, tell you when it's completed, and then try to open the file or folder where it stored those results. So we have, let me view in details here so you can see we have both the text file and the XML file from that output. Now, I may want to save my log, which is all of FFmpeg's output here seen. So I just click Save Log and rename it to FFmpeg. They're very convert. There we go. They're very FFmpeg's very adamant that you make sure you capitalize those first two F's and everything else is lowercase. So I've now saved that report and I can just close out of here. And in here, I will find that text file, which I'll launch here and show you in Notepad++, which I absolutely love for a number of things. But here's my entire FFmpeg output into the log file. So Notepad++, another thing I often leverage it for is when I'm hashing frames. So if you're using inside QuickDME, our send to commands for FFmpeg, and you hash every frame from a file, for instance, to a text file, I can take two text files and compare them in Notepad++ very easily. Love open source software for those sorts of things. So I have an XML report. I have my metadata information report, which is essentially the containers and streams information like media info, all readily available. So if I wasn't a licensed user of QuickDME, I would not have this metadata report capability that gets turned off with the license. However, you still can copy frames and have your time code and the ability to play. So you'll lose that convenience of that metadata report there, but you still have metadata reporting and interrogation via FFmpeg Convert. So you have it in a number of different places and ways. So on top of reporting, of course, we can do processing. Right, so we can maybe convert this file to a lossless H.264 or extract just the audio, compressed or uncompressed. If I want to do a conversion, maybe I want to extract all iframes. So I'm going to extract all iframes, convert it to a lossless, and then put it back into that same temporary folder. Click OK. And lossless H.264, as you know, is going to provide us with the same quality visually in the H.264 encoded video. So absolutely identical. And how can we verify that? Well, I just talked about hashing frames. Inside QuickDME, we can actually hash our frames and then compare those hashes and validate that, yes, this lossless file is exactly the same as so let me open this with VLC. Again, lossless stuff doesn't play well with Microsoft's frameworks because it's x264 based, but it certainly plays well with anything FFmpeg and libav based, so VLC and those types of players all play it. Certainly QuickView can also play it, right? So we can just right click and play in QuickView. So we have our file in there as well. So I might want to save this log from what I just did. I'm going to save log, and I'll call this lossless and extract log. And then I'm going to close out of here and go take a look at a few of these things that we've just created. So we've got the log file here, our frames extracted. We've seen the video. If we look inside here, oh my goodness, that entire video only had 2 iframes extracted the bitmap. Well, how could we validate that? Let's go back to that frame information report. So down here we have XML files. I'll view in detail so you can see our XML files here. We can do this a few different ways. So certainly we have our XML viewer in Omnivore FFmpeg Convert, and I like to look at this report also when I'm in the office. I'll also leverage Microsoft Excel. And so let me, since I want to do some searching, I'm going to use Excel. Our viewer is super convenient, as I'm going to show you. However, it doesn't allow me to do searching yet. So that's something that we're looking at adding in the future as well. But when I parse this XML report, right, and launch it in Excel, I can just remove my audio samples so that I'm just looking at video samples. I can see my keyframe column here, so I'm just going to choose keyframes. Keyframes. Right? So let's come over and look at what picture type. Both iframes. So we can, validate again by showing all and then coming over to and just choosing iframes, right? 2. We have 2 in this entire file. So this report is, a very, very powerful report that is integrated in a number of products, certainly third-party products, but it is available to you both in Omnivore FFmpeg Convert, and it is also available to you, of course, in QuickDME. And our portable XML viewer gives you the ability to sort and show columns, which I'll show here momentarily. But let's go back to that packet position, right? We saw a packet position in here, so I'm going to copy that packet, and I'm going to Control F, paste, and there is our packet position for that particular frame and all of the metadata pertaining to that particular frame. So again, there's a lot of information in here that there really isn't any other way to extract other than through the FFmpeg framework. Very, very powerful report in this XML report. I use it for a lot of validation, not only on tools, but videos, of course, as well. So that's a standard, file, quick, simple way to process with FFmpeg Convert. But what if we have, a slew of files? We need to process a whole bunch of files. Let's go back to, let me grab my original media here. And let me grab a folder of Canon camcorder videos. So we got a bunch of Canon camcorder videos. I'm going to open up Omnivore Viewer and just drag this folder right into Omnivore Viewer. See what we come up with. FFmpeg Convert launches and shows me a detailed file list of all of the files in that particular folder that it's parsed, and some basic metadata information about all of those files. We can see these are all MTS files, but with various resolutions. We have 1080, and we also have 1440 1080, which is an HDV standard, excuse me. One of the newest things in the FFmpeg convert interface, not batch processing has been there all along, but is this player capability. So whether we're batch processing an entire folder or maybe processing a single file. So let's go in here and take a look at that sliding door example for a short, quick one. And I can now play this file. This is going to launch our 3.5 viewer. So this is an alpha release of our 3.5 player that's going to be in here. In the 3.4, it just brings up FF Play and shows the video playing in FF Play and displays keyboard shortcuts here for you, for those not familiar with FF Play. In 3.5, you're going to have a player. You're going to have mark in and mark out capability, and so that's going to certainly speed things up, and much more is on the way as well. You can see as I mark in and out, those times are brought over to our trim. So if I wanted to trim this video, I could do so. I can change dimensions, change the output frame rate. Not the input frame rate, but the output frame rate, so on and so forth. So a lot of capabilities, certainly for standard files, but we can also play and process some proprietary files. What's the downside, the drawback with proprietary? So if I have now there's both a standard 264 file extension, of course, and then there is, proprietary iterations of it. So this is from a Night Owl system. I'm just going to grab this, again, a smaller file, which is why I used it. But we can see that it's brought this in. I can probe it. I can grab my frame information report and do all of those things, or play that file right within our player. So proprietary 263 can be processed the same way. But what are the concerns when we process, whether it's with FFmpeg or any other tool, a proprietary file? That file is proprietary, folks. That means that unless you have reverse engineered that file format thoroughly, you could be missing something. Maybe it's just a bit. Maybe it has absolutely no consequence on your investigation, but what if it's an entire stream? What if it's metadata, an entire stream of metadata that may be helpful? So proprietary containers, when we ignore the proprietary container, always use caution. Certainly for investigative processing, I'll be the first to tell you I do it regularly in investigative processing to get quick images as accurately out on the street as quickly as I possibly can. So I can extract frames, right? And get all of the best frame out of that video, and then bring that into ClearID quickly and easily. And so, oh boy, where did I put them? I didn't pay attention to where I was putting my output. I put them onto the desktop. Here they are. So I can get those frames and bring them right into ClearID to do some work quickly and easily. And of course, save my log on the entire extraction, which is going to include version information, FFmpeg build information, all of this library information, even commands to use for processing. So very, very helpful, quick, easy way to leverage FFmpeg. So I can save this log out, and we are able to do the same thing with proprietary files. But I just want to make sure that people understand. I cannot stress this enough. Proprietary, when you're recovering, that's your number one goal, right? We need those native files. They're the best evidence, first instance recording with all of the related metadata, which we can then use to help validate, add weight to our hypothesis when we're processing this evidence. We have to get accurate information out onto the street as quickly as possible. It's just, what if this stream contains 2 cameras? So for instance, in this AVR, I come in here and play this AVR file. I've got a 704 by 240. I'm viewing it right now at the proper aspect ratio, but it's sized at 776 by 264, we can see here. I can play this file. But what we might find is some contradictory information in proprietary files. For instance, FFmpeg believes that this is one single camera view. So I do have a probe. I have FF probes returning an H.264 video. It is finding a stream, but it's not really giving us much about it other than 704 by 240, right? So interesting. What I don't know is, without doing further processing, extracting frames, for instance, maybe we do an XML frame analysis report. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll put this into my test folder and say, okay. What if this contains two cameras, not just one camera view? And FFmpeg's not seeing all of that data. That's highly possible because it's a proprietary container. FFmpeg's not even considering the container, the metadata associated to that container, whether or not that container is attempting to obfuscate, do byte flipping, all of those sorts of things. So we have to be very cautious. That's not to say that for investigative purposes, and here is our FFmpeg XML viewer that's available right on Omnivore. Real quick, you can see all of the same column names that we were looking at in Excel. We have the ability to turn on audio and video samples, so on and so forth. But you can see here we have 704 by 240 all the way through here. Is that the case all the way through the file? We can sort by these columns, but what we can't do right now is searching. We don't have a search in here. We can turn columns on and off. We can use custom colors to define frame types, etc. So very, very helpful for out in the field to have that XML viewer available. It's portable. It's right on the drive. So right on our Omnivore drive, if we just take that XML file and drag that into here, and let me do that real quick. Let me do a Windows D and grab that. There it is. Was it this one? So let's grab this one. We can just drag this into our XML viewer. So there is no file open, but if we drag it over and drop it on the XML viewer, that'll launch our XML viewer for you. You'll notice no file menu because it's built to leverage and be leveraged in Omnivore and through Omnivore. So good information, but let's take a closer look. I'm going to delve into that file in Excel real quick and see if there's anything that we might be missing. I can do some sorting and searching, which is, you know, a little bit more capable. So let me drop it in here to Excel, parse this as an XML table, and take a look. Do some filtering, do some searching, and see, is this all one camera view? Well, we also have the proprietary player to go back and look at. Let's look at width and height values. Okay, 240, only one. Uh-oh, look here, 352 and 704. A good indicator, I'm looking at my width values here, 352 by 704. Now, this may be a single camera with some sort of adaptive stream, etc., etc., etc. But I know this file quite well because I created it. And I used EverFocus system to do it. It's essentially, let me close out of Excel here and show you that file in the proprietary player. So EverFocus's little proprietary player, which of course you can access right through QuickDME when you've ingested the player, and now everybody with QuickDME would have access to that. So this is a case where interrogating the player is extremely important, right? So first off, you know, I am not disagreeing with anybody out there that these players, proprietary digital CCTV players, are often horribly designed. I couldn't agree more. However, regardless of that, I need to understand their capabilities and how they're presenting the evidence in order to quickly get accurate information out on the street. In this case, I'm going to dig around in the player. I'm going to look for about information, help information, so on and so forth. I'll right click and left click around to see if I get any options that aren't visible in context menus. I'll go up to, all of the menus, explore the different options. I only have JPEG for images. I have different camera views. I can go through, but this player clearly shows we have two files. We can export them to AVI, and in this case, it'll just rewrap these proprietary streams as independent AVI files. And guess what? When we do that, one is 704 by 240, and the other is 352 by 240. So again, interrogating our evidence, and the more information that we have to do that, certainly the better. And we can validate processes and information. With that said, I wanted to also touch on Omnivore's capabilities in regards to recovery, of course. This was, let me switch this back over to the other screen. This was discussed recently in the community about, leveraging a monitor when doing DVR recoveries, or leveraging your laptop and a IO capture device. That's essentially the essence of our Omnivore field kit deployed throughout the world. And used to standardize recovery and documentation for agencies all over. Entire state agencies leverage it for those purposes. So great to be able to just walk into a scene, proprietary setup you've never seen before, dust bunnies and all of the nightmares that we have to deal with there, the monitors out back or out front, so on and so forth. Field kit can address all of that. Can't get evidence out, they don't store it locally, it's going to take days to get from corporate or what have you. Again, all things that the field kit can help with, but documentation was the thing recently discussed, and something that I immediately saw this as a ideal solution for, because I used to use SVHS back in the early days. So here's where Charles can maybe help me a little bit. We have the new HP Mobile Workstation G7s are here. And for those familiar with the HP Mobile Workstations, the ZBooks, holy cow, what a very, very powerful processing solution. Charles, do you want to touch on these at all?
Sure. Yeah, so we've been doing HP G laptop workstations for quite a while now. They're very, very sturdy, well-built machines. I can't honestly say I've had anybody call with any issues with them. This is the 10th generation, and while they come in lots of sizes and flavors, one of the nice things we can do for you is not only narrow it down to picking a model that's got the right pricing for what it is that they're offering, but then we can modify the laptops for you. So these are, they have 4 RAM slots in them, so we can go up to 128 gigabytes of RAM. We can do them, we have 3 basic models that we've kind of gravitated toward: a 15-inch i7, a 17-inch i7 with a RTX 3000 in it, and then there is a 17-inch i9 with an RTX 5000 in it, which has 16 gigabytes of RAM. And those 3 base models that we can modify, so they have a 512 M.2 boot, and we add a 1 terabyte M.2 SSD, and then there's still another bay open that you can put a normal SSD in.
It's crazy. I know.
So those base from 3,000, 3,500, and up to 6,000 for those models. The 6,000 being the i9 with 64 gigs and the additional 1 terabyte M.2 in them. And then they also have accidental protection. So it's not just a 3-year warranty, but it's damaged on-site accidental replacement which is beautiful for a laptop because who wants to bundle up their laptop and ship it out? And
Right.
then aside from that is obviously our towers and rack mount configuration. So if you've had our workstations in the past, you enjoy them, and your systems are getting long in the tooth, give us a call and we'll help you upgrade and migrate.
Yeah, I love HP laptops. And particularly the Thunderbolt connectivity that HP was right on top of very early on, came out in the Z books. So the beauty there, of course, is I/O connectivity, storage connectivity, display all your connectivity stuff done through USB-C and Thunderbolt. Really slick, including like Avid Artist DNX I/O stuff, portable DNX ID, all of those types of solutions. Thunderbolt, big help. And then the docking station is just super easy. It can be both your field solution and your office solution. They're so powerful. Other product updates, ClearID 3.5 was released back in October to address Photoshop 2021. So if you haven't grabbed that and you're in support, please do get that installed to the latest version of Photoshop. Detective 8.1 was released last summer with some huge performance improvements on developer, Spotlight Redact improvements, and then of course our beta for the Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects. And if you've checked out that, we certainly want your feedback. Love to hear your feedback if you're leveraging that beta product. What we are working on, well, actually a lot more than what you see here on screen, but we hope to have Omnivore 3.5 out to you this month with that new player and the mark in, mark out process and a few other things. Detective release will be coming shortly thereafter. We have a new effect called Matrix for doing quickly placing multiple channels into a quad view, so on and so forth within Avid Media Composer. A lot of stuff in the works, and what we've been doing a lot of lately, remote training. So live one-on-one training with myself in regards to our custom core products, certainly, of course, but as well as workflows and standard, basics of video evidence, all of those types of things. Has been really busy lately. So thought I'd look at that. I actually made time for questions and answers this time.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on Larry's training. It being, we have some standardized, there's a 4-hour Omnivore class, there's a 4-hour ClearID class, that type of thing. It being Larry and doing it custom, we've also found that customers had requested and are finding a lot of benefit from doing a overview, mile high, not getting caught down in the weeds kind of training session to kind of poke around and find out, well, here's where I want more training. And then if you want more Avid training, we have a relationship with an Avid trainer that you can do extensive Avid training. Larry certainly can do the Omnivore and the ClearID. He can do Avid training as well, just depending on how deep into the weeds you want to get with that kind of thing. So if you're just kind of like, hey, I haven't looked at all the features and the workflows, and you just want to, collaboratively get through stuff without it being like, here's this exercise, go do that, right? You can set up one-on-one training with Larry to do that.
Excellent. So on our site, I was just showing going into training, getting to the live remote training. We have it in 4-hour modules. Like Charles said, if you want to purchase custom training, let's talk about it. Certainly willing to help. The other thing I want to point out a few things on our site. Support downloads is where you're going to get all the latest software. So on our downloads page, you will find every one of our software releases, as well as the current version, release date, and who it's free to as in support as of. You'll note the QuickDME demo package here under QuickDME, and here's the request form for that. Release notes, release history, etc. So all of our products are that way. If you need to upgrade to the latest version of Omnivore, here's where you would do it. Just grab the download request form, complete, submit, and your software will start downloading automatically. The other thing to point out is videos on our solution. So under Omnivore, we're starting to add more and more on all of our products, Avid, Detective, Omnivore, pushing stuff out to our YouTube channel. But as you look at a product down below, you'll find a number of tabs, including videos. So you'll see webinars and tips and tricks and things of that nature. The other thing I didn't mention is if you are an advanced user, an advanced FFmpeg user, and you wanted to use FFmpeg from Omnivore via command line, well, you can certainly do that as well, because you'll find FFmpeg right within the Omnivore dependencies folder. So you can certainly open up PowerShell or command line and just leverage FFmpeg that way if you are a a pro command line user.
Just to highlight, there's a CD-ROM partition on the Omnivore drive, so the software on there isn't getting installed. You just move it,
Right.
between systems, take it with you where you want, and you have that functionality.
That portability is definitely really, really nice. The other thing, I know this wasn't on QuickDME itself, but QuickView Player that we've talked about is a part of the QuickDME installation. So when you install QuickDME, you're going to have these two you're going to have the Access DME icon and the QuickDME folder installed on your desktop. Inside the QuickDME folder, you'll find the application shortcuts as well as shortcuts to the individual user guides for QuickView LT, Downloader, and Access DME. I want to show you inside of Access DME. Oh, look, says, hey, you've got our player open. Would you like to close it and proceed? Yes, I want to get into Access DME and show you QuickView inside of Access DME. This is the demo database, so it's automatically going to pre-populate the username and password on the QuickDME demo. I just click OK. That'll go ahead and launch Access DME leveraging my settings and preferences. And because it's the demo, it's going to run an automatic search using a wildcard. So you can see it entered an asterisk up here in our search field and just searched all cases. So it's listed all cases here in the system. As I select a case, it expands the folders. I have my case information tab, my download information tab when I select a download, as you'll see. So it's going to switch over to that download tab and show me all of the related data pertaining to that download. And here's that EverFocus file. So if I select it, and I have QuickView selected, it's going to automatically open right within QuickView inside of QuickDME. Well, what other options do we have in QuickDME FFmpeg-wise processing? Our new Send To menu has been reorganized for QuickDME to include many more options, including playing with macro blocks. So I could just play this file showing the macro, shows preview, or export it with macros to a visually lossless MP4. So if I want to see this file played with macro blocks, just go ahead and click OK, and it's going to preview that file with the macro blocks and motion vectors that I chose. Other options from the QuickDME Send To include hashing. So we can hash that primary stream and hash every frame, as I mentioned. What about, why would I hash the primary stream? What if you're rewrapping? You're leveraging QuickDME FFmpeg to rewrap your file. So you've got an AVR here, and I want to rewrap this just to an MP4. Now we know, based on what I showed you earlier, I'm just going to rewrap to an MP4, that doing so, in this file, we actually have two camera angles. So FFmpeg is not going to separate them out because it doesn't know AVR. It's just going to rewrap this stream. It only sees one stream into this MP4 file. So interrogating your video evidence very helpful. But then I just click save. It's going to go ahead and rewrap. I can save my log or just include the log right in the output and click close. And it's going to automatically ingest my derivative. So here's the derivative I just created, the log file. It's associated with the proper case. It's associated with the download it was generated from. And then I just go ahead and complete the rest of this quick form enter the date, any comments. These are custom fields, so I can do things like, does it include video? So I can search for things, uploads that include video, processing required, etc. I can have one for assign this to such and such, so on and so forth. And now my derivative gets brought back in and associated with that download, and you'll see it gets listed right underneath. And if I select it, there's my log and my MP4 file, quick and easy. So other options on that send to menu, the hashing stream, I can hash this primary stream and hash the AVR primary stream, compare those values and validate that I have the exact same data. Same with the frames, right? So if I extract the frames or hash or rewrap the file or convert to lossless and I want to hash those frames and validate, I can do that here by just saying, hey, give me every frame hashed, and then I'll do that on my other file, my lossless, or what have you, and be able to compare those hashes. Extracting frames, of course, converting to various formats, including lossless and DNX HD for Avid and other NLEs, overlaying a frame counter, cropping your video, of course, scaling and resizing. And then QuickDME is powerful user-defined send-tos. So I can set up my own categories and include send to other third-party solutions like Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro, what have you, third-party forensic tools. Open them, the asset up in that third-party tool directly. So you can create and manage your own send tos, and they'll only be shown here if you have that tool installed and the user has the proper permissions. So again, very, very flexible solution, really up to you how you leverage it. But QuickView and QuickDME have really with the integration with Omnivore, have really sped up my workflows for interrogating video, getting quick, actionable information out on the street, whether that's in the field or in the office. So I hope you have found this helpful. We have, of course, my display. We have, of course, lots more information on our website. If you are not already, please be sure to sign up for our email listserv. That's where we push out information first in regards to product releases, training, things of that nature, Twitter as well, and of course, our videos on YouTube. Charles, any questions? Anything else you wanted to address here?
So somebody asked a question that was in regards to early in the presentation, there was a subtle emphasis in your voice about the data in QuickDME being stored locally and that you own the data. And I just did a quick little response back to the audience. Just wanted to do it verbally. So what Larry was getting at there is simply QuickDME can be installed on a single workstation. The SQL database, the SQL database, is what houses the metadata, and you define a storage location. So typical of one of our workstations is dual Xeon processors with a RAID volume aside from the boot drive. So you point the storage location to the RAID, and the SQL database is sitting on, your drive. So your evidence is yours. So you can then put that on a NAS, and you could have a NAS connected to a switch and have multiple systems connected to the switch, and you can have a little local offline network that's not on your domain, and you can use it that way. Or you could put it on your domain. You can put it on your domain, and you could have a server in another room, and it could have its own storage, and everybody can be logging in through the domain access to things. So it's not a cloud storage solution. That's the emphasis there, is that your storage, right, it can be on your network, it can be on your individual machine, it can be on a small little local network, it could be on your domain and a more system-wide type of network. Now, there are some cloud services that have to do with archiving of data up to Amazon Web Services, or disseminating the evidence to somebody through like a Dropbox or something like that. We zip it up, password protect it, and we give you a way to disseminate the evidence. But it's not, it's not evidence.com. It's not up on the cloud and, they're putting it in whatever format they do. We preserve the folder structure, and that comes in really handy for ingesting these proprietary players that Larry was showing you earlier.
Yeah.
Some of them need all the DLLs to be in a very specific folder structure. When you flatten them out, then it doesn't work properly.
Right, and that's just again QuickDME. I'm on the database setup tool. This is usually only used by administrators, IT or LE agency. But QuickDME was really designed to that question, Charles. It was really designed to put the LE administrator in control. The law enforcement administrator in control of their evidence. In some cases, there's, jurisdictional issues about, legal issues about, child exploitation type of evidence being available to, IT, so on and so forth. But let's talk about cloud solutions real briefly here before I wrap it up. And as Charles said, the power of QuickDME is that it's very flexible, but also, it's your evidence. It's your metadata. It's your data. You keep it, right? So if you ever wanted to move away from this solution, you've got everything stored the way you want it stored. You've got everything hashed the way you want it hashed. You've got all of the metadata in your own SQL database that is yours. And you don't have to, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to migrate from this one cloud solution to another. So that's where I was going in that.
And also just want to interject real quick. If people are, in their support renewal process and they're looking to, either renew their support or get back into support, QuickDME is purchasable as a subscription, and that can be wrapped into a support package. Sometimes there's certain colors of money of what you can spend on new products versus renewals, that type of thing. So we can work in a subscription. And just to highlight that 3-column comparison report that we had integrated into the QuickView LT player is leveraging from the QuickDME database and setup. So you can imagine over time we can start to leverage even more capabilities there. So if you have a license, QuickView LT knows you have a license, and that's when you get that 3-column metadata comparison report. So in the demo, you'll get it for 30 days. So you just go download the demo package and you can start leveraging it for the next 30 days.
Absolutely. All right. I think we've run out of time. I don't see any new questions. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We'll be having future webinars and certainly keep you posted. We greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Have a good day.
Take care.